Live. I'm Ted, your host. And this morning we're going to be talking about hopefully we get some hunting stories. We can get maybe some people up here. I could share the link. I am feeling great today, Mom. I got a lot of rest yesterday and I'm good to go. We're good. I think. Yeah, we're good. I feel a lot better today than I did the last couple days. We'll get into that in a little bit with some people. If you're in here and my audio and video is good, please give me the thumbs up and just comment if you can hear me well, and we're all good to go. Looks like the gain on the microphones are all good. Hey, Amber, thanks for coming in. Appreciate you. But yeah, it's like I got a couple products here that I want to talk about that helped me, and it didn't really help my son this year because we used the food plots. That's what got my son his buck. Chris, what's up, man? Thanks for coming in. Appreciate you. Yeah, but I got a couple products where how I took my buck already. If you guys didn't know, I posted one thing on my community tab yesterday morning. I shot my buck a 9-point. He's not a monster, but he's my buck. And Kevin, Aaron Dizzle, what's up? Thank you for coming in. Appreciate you guys. But yeah, I shot my buck yesterday. I posted it on my community tab. I got a video. I got a great video of the hunt coming out here real soon. It's probably going to be Wednesday. I got a fly flying around the house. I'm surprised my dog, my yellow lab, hasn't got it yet. But there's just a few things that I wanted to talk about, let you know what's going on with me. I haven't really been live in about a week or two, week and a half. I've been hunting a little bit, working, and I also haven't been feeling well. So we're going to get into all that. No, they don't send community tabs. You have to go over and check it out. You have to go over and check out the, it'll be in a feed every once in a while, but you have to go over and check out the community tabs. But I'll be posting my picture on Facebook, audio and video good. Thanks, Chris. Sorry, I'm a little bit late there. But yeah, so I shot my buck yesterday morning, full moon. Yeah, yep, for sure. Yep, yeah, the community tab there. When I have I'm in the community, the YouTube community, I guess club, shorts club, and all this stuff. So we have meetings, and I'm going to be bringing that up about the community tab because I think this month I have a meeting with everybody. So we are going. The Red Moon was yesterday, I believe, as well. So yeah, Hunter's Moon, but there's a Red Moon as well. I guess it's the same thing if you want to put it that way. But yeah, we have meetings every month. Hey, Jeremy. We get on. I get on with the YouTube company, and they have like 5 million people in these meetings, and they take your questions, and sometimes they get looked at, sometimes they don't. And there's a lot smaller these clubs as well. They reach out to me. I don't know. The full moon to me is if I can hunt during the day, during daylight hours, like 11 to 3 or 10 to 4. I think you're going to see more movement during the daylight activity. I think that the full moon, I played the full moon as it was the first night of the full moon. So that next morning, I went in hoping that since it was the weather has a lot to do with it too. The morning was the coldest morning so far that we've had. No, you don't get. Yeah, you get more views with it, but you don't get really the watch hours. Now you could bring. I go vertical a lot myself to get stuff out there, but I like the studio lives as well, just to talk to people. And if I wanted to have somebody up, I can share the link in here to get somebody up there, but you can't do that in vertical. You have to already plan it at the beginning of the vertical live, so you can't have guests or anything like that. So I think the link, like when you're on StreamYard and stuff like that, you can share the link to get people up here. I don't think you could have people up here on YouTube. I'm not sure how that works on YouTube exactly, but The vertical lives are good to get your stuff out there, but a lot of the views are just people scrolling through the feed, and if they stop on your thing for 3 seconds, that's considered a view. So it depends how you look at it. I do get some people new to the channel from the verticals, so I do like to do verticals. And when I get a little bit more, when it's just me talking about something, then I do verticals. But getting back into the full moon, my situation, the full moon was that night. I went out the next morning, and I tried to play it as it was the coldest. It almost fell in for me because I have a job. I work 3 to 11:30, so I can't hunt evenings. And now October, they say hunt the evenings. The mornings are tough. Now through the years, I've been doing that here since I've been working. I've been hunting October mornings, and I've shot deer just about every year, and it was all morning. But the more they're not the 4.5, 5.5-year-old bucks. Hey John, thanks for coming in. Yeah, I like October mornings, but I've been hearing a lot of stuff on TV and everything, and everybody's saying don't hunt mornings for mature bucks. Now these are 4.5 and above. If you're going out there get a 2 or 3-year-old, it doesn't pertain, I guess, because they consider it a different animal. A deer being at 4.5, 5.5, or a different animal than a 2.5 and a 1.5 and 2.5-year-old deer. I don't know if it's like smart. If they're smart, obviously they're smarter. They didn't get that big for being dumb. But my expectations and my limits are way different in PA than Ohio. So I use PA for myself. Yep. I use PA for content and to get it out there, like get a successful hunt in. It is a lot easier shooting them 1.5, 2.5-year-olds. The one I got today is 2.5, or yesterday was 2.5-year-old. But in Ohio, I'm at that point of 3.5, 4.5, 5.5. I'm trying to get a bigger deer, more or less the 3.5, 4.5, and 5.5 in Ohio. Because they're more abundant in Ohio, and they're bigger deer down there than we have around here. Now, there are big deer around here, yes, of course. But my time and everything to put in as my schedule, and then the kids and everything, I can't commit to one deer, basically, is what I want to say. So I can't like wait for that one deer, and then because I only have certain times that I can hunt. So I go out, I get camera pictures, I present it to you guys. I try to pick a deer out to hunt, but this year I didn't have any shooters on camera yet. I've had a lot of bucks and does working my scrapes and things like that, but I didn't get the one that I said, oh, I want to go after that one yet. Now, this is the time of the year where they are going to... Cool, Chris, congratulations. But it's like this time of the year they're going to start hitting the scrapes and that better. Do I have time to hunt the mornings this year? Yeah, some, you know what I mean, sometimes. But my son got one, and I got punched my tag yesterday, so it's like a relief in a way to have it. I got some really good content. I got some footage. I got my son's hunt on camera. I got my hunt on camera. I'd like to get my dad's hunt on camera as well this year. I don't know when we can hook up to do that. Saturday, I got a meeting at work in the morning for the union meeting. I may get out Saturday. I got a doe license still left in PA. I may get out Saturday and take my regular bow out, my compound. So I tagged him in PA, Chris. I wouldn't shoot this deer in Ohio for sure. But PA, definitely. So I still got a little bit of content left for PA, like doe hunting. So I may take my regular bow out and try to get harvest a doe with that. But getting back to the moon was last night or the day before, and I played it as it's a full moon, and the next morning it was going to be the coldest morning of the week. It was like 38 degrees. So I was like, okay, full moon, deer moving all night. They're going to hang in their feeding areas a little longer because of the weather. It's going to be cooler. They're going to try to pack it in that night before they go lay down. So I wanted to be in the woods. It was like what they call the vampire walk. You walk in the morning, you don't need a flashlight or nothing. The full moon's out. Walk in, get in your stand, and it's basically you can see in the woods. It's almost like a daylight scenario. So we've had frost a couple weeks. About last week we had a frost, but it didn't. It was like one day. So I walked into the woods. I got in there. I took my antlers because this is the time of the year, and I just looked back through my videos and through all my history. And right around October 10th to the 20th is I've had success with rattling in that area. Now, the first year I hunted the area, I hunted one morning and I rattled. In 5 minutes, I had a deer run up an 8 point, ran right to me, shot the deer, and got out. And I said, "This is a great spot," and I've been hunting there ever since. So I took my rattlers in, I took my extinguisher grunt call in with me, and I always have my grunt call, but I took my antlers because I have the black rack system. They're a little bit bigger and bulkier, so I don't take them all the time, actually. So I took them in with me, and I figured at the beginning, and I'm laying out the video sort of for you. I figured at the beginning, as it gets light out, it was like 7:20. Sunrise is at 7:33. Was yesterday, so like it was light enough to see in the woods, and I don't recommend you rattle or call to a deer if you can't see or you can't shoot. So that's your off the hook tip of the week. Again, I said that last year, but your off the hook tip of the week is do not rattle or call unless you can shoot. You have enough shooting light. That pertains to the mornings and that pertains to the evenings. So don't call or rattle if you can't shoot, because it's happened to me before where it's been in the morning, it's been dark out, I've grunted, I've rattled, I've had deer walking around me in front of me during the morning and I can't see them. Or in the evening, getting last light, you rattle, and then that deer comes in when it's dark out, you're lowering your boat on, that deer's in there, you spook them out, you probably ruin the area or the hunt, depending on the age of the deer. So don't do that. So I get in my stand, it was probably 20 after 6. And I get in my stand, and it's light enough to see stuff, but you can't really shoot yet. I call for my stand and blind, either or. It doesn't matter. I'm gonna try something new though. I'm gonna tie some rattling antlers, some horns together, and I'm gonna have it on a rope, and I'm gonna lower it down and bounce it off the ground and rattle, and you're gonna hear the leaves rustling from the antlers. The only thing you got to be careful about is movement. When you're moving the rope like a puppet on a string, I want to lower my rope down. And I learned that. I saw that on Bowmar Hunting. Josh Bowmar, he does that. He gets like 3 antlers and puts them together into one rope, and he ties them together, and he lowers them down on the ground, and he's beating them around, and it sounds like a deer's hooves are fighting and their antlers are clanging together. So I'd like to do that coming up. So if anybody gets a chance to do that, try that. But I'm going to try that. That's supposed to be like a more realistic rattling sequence. So I get in the stand early. I'm up there, and it's light enough to see shadows, but you can't really see and shoot yet. Even though the scope on my crossbow gathers a ton of light, I could probably do that. But to be legal, you have to make sure your times are your shooting times, you're obeying that shooting times, because you don't want to be, that's the last thing you want. All right, see you, Amber, thank you. That's the last thing you want to do is talk about, a premature time on your videos and post that on YouTube, because then the DNR gotcha. You know what I mean? If you're posting. So you got to, that's one thing about the YouTube and the videoing and stuff like that. You got to make sure you're following all the rules and stuff like that when you're putting it out there to the public. You don't want to put nothing out there illegally, obviously. I don't want to do anything illegal anyway. So, but yeah, so I get my stand. I'm sitting there. I get my ozonics up, I get everything ready. I put my bolt on my crossbow, open my scope caps, and I have a routine that I do, and I have to do the routine. It's just the way I am. I always got to have things the way I do them. It's just the way it is. I don't know, OCD or whatever you want to call it. My wife says I have it, but I don't know if I do or not. I just like things done. I like to do things the way I like to do things. Everything has to be in order. My dad or my son will probably tell you the same thing when we're in the blind. Everything has to be right. So it's like, put this up, put this window on, move this curtain over, put your chair here, put this here, put the crossbow here, put a pad up here. You know, can you shoot here? It's like everything has to be perfect for me. It's just the way I've been my whole life. That's just how I am. I got to have it the way I got to have it. And so sitting in there, I get my, I'll give you my sort of scenario. I get up there. Have you discussed anything about disease in deer and what to look for? I haven't ran into any of the diseased deer. I heard that in Ohio there is some EWD or whatever, EHD, chronic CWD, whatever. But I have not ran into anything to talk about it, and I don't know much about it because I have not ran into that situation. If I do run into the situation in the areas where I hunt, I will probably research it and bring it to you guys. But right now, I haven't. But that's a good idea for maybe later on in the season to maybe I can do some research on it and bring some people out. I know, Mom. I think that's where I got it from. But that's some good content for coming up here, Chris. Hey, Ernie, thanks for coming in, buddy. Appreciate you. If you're in here, Ernie, did they say Ernie Brown? Yeah. So I get in my stand in the morning. My bow's hanging. I'll give you my situation. So I have screw and tree steps because I'm on private property, but I take them out because it's like a church area, and I got permission to hunt it. I posted it this year, but if there's kids around or anything like that, I take my steps out so nobody can get in my stand and get hurt, and just for liability purposes. So I use screw and steps. I take 5 out. I have 10, but as I'm getting older, I think I need 15 or 20 to get up 20 feet again because I can't stretch my legs that far anymore on the tree steps. So I got to sort of put a step in between them all now. Because my stride is getting a little weaker, little less. Instead of it being 2 foot, now it's a foot. So I go up, I get my bag, put it on my back, put my crossbow on my back. My crossbow's cocked already. Oh, okay. Ernie's the one who shot the buck. The meat was no good. Okay. Was it a gangrene thing or was it a disease? Because I know the diseases that the deer have, the CWD and that, you can actually eat the meat still from that. If you shoot one, it doesn't transfer into the meat. It's a brain thing. So I do know that. So maybe he had like gangrene or something wrong with the meat, or it was an old wound that spoiled the deer or something. We've had that before where we've cut a deer open and it was just like green pudding that come out. That's kind of nasty, but parasites, can't remember. Okay. So what I do is I get dressed in my garage, the garage door open, put all my stuff on, get all my clothes out of the ozone tank, if you want to call it. I put all my clothes on, get in the vehicle, drive down to the church property, get out, get in the back seat, grab my backpack, put it on. My crossbow's cocked at the house, so I take my crossbow out, put it on my shoulder, have my headlamp on, and I walk up to my stand. And I have my bag of 5 tree steps. So, and this is story time, so I'm telling you a story. So go up to my tree. I get in. I have a path cut out. It's very easy to get in. I don't make much noise. I think that's really a game changer when you're getting to and leaving your stand. You got to get in and get out of there as quiet as possible and without getting detected. So, and it depends the time of the year, the activity and stuff, full moon, all that good stuff. Sometimes you go in and you bump them. They're by your stand already. But I'm in a transition zone, so I think in the mornings I get there before the deer are getting back into the bed. Now, that's the controversy with the full moons and the October mornings and the bigger, older deer already being in their beds. But I've hunted October mornings. I've shot 3.5s there. So I think that they're talking about 4.5 and on for their mature bucks, the bigger bucks. But once I get to that point in PA, then I'll worry about it then. But I'm not there yet in PA. Ohio, I am, but not PA. So I walk up to my stand, I grab my crossbow, I put it on my string, put the crossbow on the other side of the tree, and then I take my steps out, I screw in my 5 steps with my backpack on. As I'm going up the tree, I screw in the 5 steps, I climb up in my tree, get in my tree. First things first, I always pull up my crossbow first. Well, first of all, I don't know if you can get another tag for disease. They may give you another tag for that. Maybe. I'm not sure. I don't know where he is. I don't know how PA works. I've never experienced that myself either. So, but I do know that PA, if you want to get a deer, if you find a shed on the ground, you're allowed to take that. But if you find a dead deer and it's still attached to the body, like the head and everything, you have to call the game commission, get a permit, and it's $10 a point for that deer to keep that rack. So I learned that. So, and you hear people on the road see a nice buck, they get out and cut the rack off. That's actually illegal. You can't do that. So don't do that either. That's your off the hook tip of the week as well. Don't cut a rack off of a dead deer on the side of the road because you can be fined for that. You have to call it in, you have to get a permit, and you have to pay $10 a point in PA. So just so you guys know that. I learned that last week or 2 weeks ago. I was just researching some stuff, and I stumbled on a little article, and so I started reading it. So getting my stand, I'm up in my stand. I put my safety belt on my rope, my hook or whatever. Safety belt goes on first thing, click. Then I pull up my crossbow, set it on my bow holder, and I grab my bag is in front of me, and I have my jacket tied to my bag along with my rack, my rattling system. So I take the rattlers off, the antlers, and I hang them on a hook. This is how crazy it is, and that's how I'm giving it to you. I have a hook to my left, I have a hook to my right. I hang the antlers on the right, my left hook as I'm looking at the tree. I take my quiver out of my bag. I take an arrow off or a bolt off. I put it in my crossbow. I take that and I put it back in the bag, and I take my ozonics out and the bracket because I jump around to hunt, so I always take my bracket. I don't leave my bracket in the woods, so I screwed my bracket in, put the ozonics on, turn it on, go into my pocket, grab my wind checker, and we'll talk about this real quick since I'm getting into the wind checker. Grab my wind checker and pump the wind checker up, see which way the wind's blowing. I normally know which way the wind's blowing, but I do it anyway because you can have swirling winds in the morning when it's cool, and it can change. So I do that. I see which way the wind's blowing. I take the ozonics and I turn it to which way the wind's blowing. So that's where my scent cone is blowing to. So my ozonics go towards the scent cone to cover my scent. Put that up. Put my bag. I have an iced tea in the bag. I crack the iced tea at home, so I don't have to hear the crack in the woods. If it's open, I take the iced tea cap off. I take a drink of iced tea, put the iced tea back, hang my bag on the side where my quiver with my arrows are at, or bolts. I put my iced tea next to it to keep it up in the air so I can reach it and grab it. And I have my jacket that's with the rattling antlers and the jacket. I have it on my seat. I take my jacket, I put my one hand in, I pull it around my strap, and I put the other hand in. I zip my jacket up. I get my microphones all hooked up, get my camera hooked up onto the mount and everything like that, and I sit down. And my hat is off because sometimes you sweat walking in. So my hat's off. I put my hat on my lap, and I sit there for about 10 or 15 minutes in the dark and let me cool down a little bit, let my hair, let my scent and everything go away. I put my hat on, and then I sit there for another five minutes or so. And then I reach into my left pocket and I pull out my baklava, my face mask. I take my hat off, I put it in my lap, and I put my baklava on, and then I put my hat on that has a fresh air wafer on it. So now my heat from my head and everything is permeating up, and my fresh air scent's on top, and that's covering that scent as well. I got my ozonics going too, so I'm well covered. I'm sprayed down. I have my LumiShield products on and everything like that, foam in the hair and all that stuff, so it's not creating scent. And I sit there, and then I put on my glove, my left glove, because I like my right glove off, because when I'm working cameras and stuff, I like to have my hand. So I sit there until it gets light out, and that's my routine that I do every time, or every hunting setup that I have. Basically, all my tree stands are set up the same. Hooks where they're at, certain spots, bow rope, all that stuff. Unless something differs where I have to from the land or from the tree or whatever. But that's my setup. So sit there, wait till it gets light out. So I waited. It was starting to get light out where you could see. I end up seeing a fox come out of the thicket and come down past me. And it was just a shadow, and I knew it was a fox. It come out and went down past me. And sitting there. And it's weird because every time I see that fox, I always see deer. It's kind of crazy. So I'm sitting there, and it's about 7:30-ish almost, and I start rattling, and I grunt. So I grunted, just buck grunts lightly. I grunted a couple times, and then I rattled. And then I put the antlers down, I put my grunt call back, and I'm sitting there and waiting. And about 15 minutes later, I hear a tree snap behind me. I'm sitting there, and I turn my head, and I look, and I'm giving you the video here, but please go watch the video. It's better live than it is me explaining it. But so I hear some branches break behind me. I look, and I see a doe, big doe, and it's right by my scrape, and it's coming through. It sniffed my vine and sniffed the ground and walked up past me behind me. Another doe come out. There was 2 fawns with it, or yearlings with it, and then there was another big doe come up behind me. And then I happened to look behind them about 40 yards, and I see like a yellow rack. So I'm like, okay, there's a buck there. I didn't know what it was. So I'm sitting there, and then I look, and it comes behind me. And now I'm going to show you the products that I use too. And so it comes behind me, and I look, and I can see it. Well, I started videoing. I have my camera, and I'm videoing it behind me, and I'm looking to the right. And I don't have my crossbow or anything yet. And I'm videoing it, and then it comes up, and I seen it was a nice buck. I was like, okay, it's a shooter. I'm going to shoot this buck if I get a chance. Now, it's early in the season, but it's a nice buck. I think I can get great video of it the way it come in. So that's one of the reasons, too, that causes me to shoot deer. If it's great video, which I think is great video, then I will take that animal if I can get it on camera. Now, last year I did miss my shot, which I hated that. But I figured I can get good video of this deer all the way up to the shot. So I grabbed my crossbow, I put my crossbow on my lap, and I'm sitting there, and I'm videoing this deer, and he comes up, and he does one of those, any adrenaline rush. I'm going to say when you first see the buck, I had a little bit of a rush, but I don't want to sound like a seasoned veteran or nothing, but I've seen a lot of deer in the woods. I've shot a lot of deer. The bigger deer get me going, okay, like shaking wise. This 2.5-year-old, it's not really like, oh, yeah, oh. And like if you listen to my son's video, he's breathing heavy in the camera. Like, that's what I love, okay? But me, I try to keep my composure as much as possible. I know I'm going to shoot this deer, but I'm got that little feeling. I went live and got kicked for 24 hours cleaning a muzzleloader. Yeah, you don't want to do any guns or anything on there, Ray, for sure. Yeah, I breathe heavy going to the mailbox. Yeah, and I'm actually just calming down from walking up the hill too, John. So I feel you on that one. So, but today I feel great, and I'm going to explain to you a little bit about that. I got a scare yesterday. I was in the hospital. So, but we'll talk about that later. So he comes up, and what's funny is he's grunting. Yes, so I hear. Yeah, you know firsthand, Ray. So this deer comes up, and it does this little buck roar and chases the doe. Well, pushes him up to the right of me, okay? So pushes him up to the right of me, and what I did was I walked in, and I used, I have the dabs from Jinx 'Em Scent in my scrape. These are little beads, and this is the dominant buck, and this is synthetic. I just wanted to try the synthetic because I've never used it this year. They have synthetic or all natural. So I have synthetic that I wanted to put out to see how it works. So I put this dabs in, and I put the Misfortune synthetic liquid, the deer pee, in the scrape. And then what I did on the vine is I used the Mystic Preorbital. I put that on the vine, had great success. I actually have an update video where I have thousands of pictures, hundreds of videos, and I'm going to be putting that out as well. I'm not going to put all 1,000 of them out there, but I got a nice video set up for you guys for an update. So it's the time of the year right now where the deer are starting to push and move, okay? Well, Sean from Jinx 'Em Scents, he's starting to use the Bewitched and stuff. Now, this Bewitched is just the doe estrus. This is synthetic, okay? This is the purple. This is the Bewitched, okay? So, Dad, you can use this down camp. I'll give this to you. So, yeah, no problem, man. Appreciate you. So, I set up my scrape with the dominant buck, and I followed Sean's way to do it. I make my scrapes my own way, but I used all the products. The dabs, awesome, keeps the scent in the scrape a lot longer. This gets them going, you know, the liquid, the pea. So I put the pea in, put the dabs in, did the mystic on the vine, which the deer loved it. I've never had, and I'm going to be honest with you, and if Sean's in here or Dawn's in here, I'm not saying this just to say because I use these scents. I've tried all kinds of deer scent. You can ask my dad. I've done everything that you can possibly do with deer scent. I've used everything on the market. I spent hundreds of dollars on deer scent. Okay, this stuff, I've seen them. I've researched their company. I've watched Sean and Dawn's lives on Facebook. They're very passionate about it. So I'm like, I'm going to go with them. I've used all kinds of scents before. You know where I was at last year at this time with scent, who I was with and everything. I don't like to mention any names, but Jinxum just seemed to be the right place for me. Okay. So I contacted Dawn, very nice lady. She's a Yinzer like me. She's from Pittsburgh, so we hit it off right away. We got in. She got me in the field staff team of Jinxum, and I started getting products. Now, I buy my products from them. I do have a share code, so you can get these products with 10% off. The only thing that the share code doesn't work for are the apparel, because it's a print on demand. So it doesn't work with that, okay? Big change. Quick here, so we're going to see. I'm hoping that it comes back on, but if you see, we are frozen right now for a second, so hold on 1 second. Had a call, froze for a bit. Stay with me. All right, so you have audio. Okay, well, the audio, if we're doing this here, I might have to go out and come back in again and do a part 2, because I got a phone call on this and it freezes up. I don't know why it does that. Orientation lock. Let's see if it comes back. Sorry about that, guys, but I have no way to do that on my phone, to just shut phone calls off, unless somebody knows a way to do that. Then see, it does do the different views here, but it won't give me, it gives me the live chat but no picture. So we'll see. So let me do this. Let me, I don't want to do this and play around with this if it ain't going to come back on the screen. I'm going to go out and come right back in. I don't know if airplane mode will fix it or not, John. I got to see. Camera on. Yeah, camera's on. Everything. But when you get a phone call, it cuts it out for some reason. So what I'm going to do, guys, is everybody in here, please come back. I'm going to do, it'll take me 1 minute, and I'll just do a part 2 of this real quick. So let me leave here, and then we will come right back in. Sorry about that, but please come back in. I got a bunch of great information to share with you guys. I'll be right back, guys.